My favorite part
didn't
was
see that.
when Kamala Harris shows up and she stink eyes both of them.
Yeah.
She stink eyes Trump and Obama and then sits down and doesn't say hi or shake their hands.
Nice.
And then looks over and sees that Obama and Trump are talking to each other, and she goes like this. She's like,
As they say, only if looks could kill. The viral video captured Harris's subtle glances back at the duo, and as she turned, the cold sigh sparked a flood of speculation.
Yeah.
rolls
won't
her
go over.
eyes, and she's with her husband and her husband.
That's like when Shane was.
Joe Rogan doesn't just throw jabs at Kamala Harris, he tears apart her entire political record with surgical precision. He calls out the nervous laughs, the recycled buzzwords, the forced relatable moments, and the awkward stumbles that turned her into a walking punchline. Rogan highlights her contradictions as a prosecutor, her failures as a leader, and her endless attempts to reinvent herself. His conclusion is brutal but clear. Kamala Harris isn't substance, she's performance. And the performance isn't fooling anyone anymore.
Who is like bragging about buying champagne,
Went out to get my champagne.
making fun of the guy selling her the champagne.
He's asked me why I was getting the champagne, and I said, because I'm going to be toasting Madam President tonight.
Because he wasted his vote on Trump.
And then I said to him, you do realize you wasted your vote, right?
And I'm buying champagne to toast Madam President. She's got.
Kamala Harris has spent years trying to brand herself as a bold leader and fearless fighter for justice. But Joe Rogan cuts straight through the PR packaging. He calls out the staged smiles, the nervous laughter, and the hollow, pre-packaged speeches. To him, Harris isn't a trailblazer, she's an act. All costume, no character, all soundbite, no substance.
And play it. Let's see what it says. So she's probably talking about Trump being on Twitter. Is that what it is?
So she was talking to Jake Tapper. So we'll see.
Right.
That you can't say that you have one rule for Facebook and you have a different rule for Twitter. The same rule has to apply, which is that there has to be a responsibility that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power. They are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation. And that has to stop.
Okay, right away.
Yeah.
There's no way to misconstrue that.
What does that mean?
Oversight
Yeah.
and regulation for free speech is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Just
totally.
just that alone, there's no way to misconstrue.
This is the woman who became vice president without ever making it clear what she actually stands for. She speaks like a nervous student in a high school debate, spitting out lines that sound memorized minutes before going on stage. Rogan points out that Harris has mastered the art of talking endlessly while saying nothing at all. Her speeches overflow with corporate-style buzzwords, the kind you'd expect at a teamwork seminar, not from a national leader. What she delivers isn't vision, but word salad. Not conviction, but nervous laughter. Not clarity, but scrambled paragraphs that sound less like leadership and more like a glitching.
I really believed it.
The women of America are making their voices heard, and the women are voting in numbers relative to men that are unbelievable. She's won this.
They gaslit people so hard with their filled arenas, all the news coverage on CNN and MSNBC, and the polls are showing.
And I didn't care. I walked out with my bottle of champagne.
The polls are showing, and it's going to be Kamala Harris is going to be the. They just gaslit the whole country.
The absurdity isn't lost on Rogan. He doesn't just mock Harris's words, he highlights the gulf between the power she wields and the emptiness of her impact. After years in office, she's better known for awkward interviews than actual policy. Every time she takes the stage, it doesn't feel like leadership, it feels like a national group therapy session. Plenty of talk, zero solutions, and everyone leaving more confused than when they came.
I think, honestly, you have to do that now.
And you gave all that you could to support our campaign.
Because, first of all, it's legal. There's no laws against it, which is really crazy, because it's kind of fraud.
Because of your efforts, get this, we raised an historic $1.4 billion from grassroots supporters alone. The most in presidential campaign history.
You can't have fake people vote, but you can have fake people
Sway
convince you to vote for their candidate, which is really weird.
Who picked Kamala Harris? If it's Obama, if it's Pelosi, that person needs to get fired. Then too, Kamala Harris needs to be fired. Why? Because she chose
Awkward attempts to project authority. And then comes the laugh loud, forced, and grating. Like a car alarm at 3 a.m. It doesn't signal confidence. It screams panic, a reflex to fill the silence when she's out of ideas. Rogan doesn't let it slide. To him, that laugh isn't just a bad habit, it's the perfect metaphor for her entire career. Nothing but noise. covering up the absence of substance.
She had an opportunity to come here when she was in Texas, and I literally gave them an open invitation. I said, anytime. I said, if she's done at 10 o'clock, we'll come back here at 10 o'clock. I go, I'll do it at 9 in the morning. I'll do it at 10 p.m. I'll do it at midnight. She's up. She wants to, drink a Red Bull, fucking party on.
Yeah, but I think this idea that you're being a diva is silly because you're offering her the opportunity to do exactly what the other candidate did, right?
Well, she actually reached out when she found out that he was coming on. So their camp reached out to me. So I said, great, I would love to.
The contradictions never stop. Harris built her reputation as a tough prosecutor, boasting about locking people up. But on the national stage, she tried to rebrand herself as a progressive champion. One moment she's threatening parents with jail over truancy. The next she's preaching about compassion and second chances. Rogan points out it's impossible to know what Harris truly believes because she doesn't seem to know herself to him. It's all theater. She shifts identities depending on the audience, always calculating, always angling to appear relatable, but nothing about it rings true. When she acts casual, it's stiff. When she tries to inspire, it's awkward. When she attempts humor, it's painful. Rogan likens her to a broken robot trying to pass as human, every gesture rehearsed, every smile tested, every sentence collapsing under the weight of its own emptiness.
Was when she had that one speech about Donald Trump, like scared to debate her, but he says all these things. But you know what I always heard? If you want to say something, say it to my face. And the whole place went crazy, and she was laughing.
I didn't see that.
Oh, it was so good. It was her best speech. For sure. She looked young.
She's kind of cute.
She was hot.
Yeah.
She was younger. She was a smoke show.
She's still all right. She got that thing on her, I bet.
So that...
You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you were saying. That's why it's so...
And then there's her record. Rogan doesn't hold back when it comes to Harris's time as California's Attorney General, pointing out decisions that looked bad then and look even worse now. She blocked transparency in police misconduct cases, kept inmates locked up longer to provide cheap labor, and fought reforms she now pretends to champion. She wants the badge of a criminal justice reformer while standing on a pile of contradictions that prove the opposite. Rogan doesn't just expose the hypocrisy. He mocks the arrogance of thinking no one would notice. As vice president, Harris had the perfect opportunity to redefine herself, show real leadership, and command the national stage. Instead, she became a running joke. Every attempt to lay out a vision collapsed into viral clips for all the wrong reasons. Handed the border crisis, she dodged it for as long as possible, given the job of diplomacy. Her trips were remembered more for awkward laughs than meaningful wins. Rogan doesn't need to exaggerate, Harris does the job for him, turning almost every public appearance into an accidental comedy routine.
Everybody forever was like, Kamala Harris is the worst vice president. She's the least popular vice president of all time. And then in a moment in time, all of a sudden she's our solution. She's our hero. Everybody's with her. All these social media posts about her. Try Googling a negative story on her. You won't find one.
So,
ta-da!
Okay, you've got me started, Officer Harris. So,
cracks up at Harris's reliance on cliches, as if repeating the same line enough times will suddenly make her sound competent. She says something like, "We must work together, because when we work together, we achieve more together." Then pause, like she just dropped the Gettysburg Address. The audience claps not from inspiration, but from pity, like applause. Might help her finally find the point. It's the political equivalent of teaching teamwork to kindergartners, except the kids would probably figure it out faster. But Rogan's warning is serious. Harris's mediocrity isn't harmless. She's second in command, a heartbeat from the presidency, and yet she inspires no confidence. She doesn't earn respect. She pleads for tolerance. Her rise wasn't built on merit or achievement, but on timing, identity politics, and Washington backroom deals. She's the product of a system that values branding over substance, performance over results. And Rogan makes sure people see just how dangerous that really is.
Well, says yes, 3 hours.
I hope she says yes too.
You really are in 3 hours.
I don't know if she'll do 3 hours. They probably want to do like an hour.
You're going to get 22 minutes.
I'll get an hour.
I don't know, man. 22 minutes.
Get into her favorite sexual
we do know Trump. We do know.
I think someone didn't that call her daddy girl? Didn't they start talking about bedroom stuff?
Yeah. I like cowgirl.
Defenders and cis defenders insist that criticism is unfair, that she's breaking barriers and paving the way for women of color in leadership, but Rogan makes it clear, his issue isn't her identity, it's her competence. The real tragedy, he says, isn't that Harris became vice president, it's that this was the best the Democratic Party could offer? A politician whose standout skill isn't leadership, but the uncanny ability to turn serious moments into punchlines. Rogan reminds his audience that even Democrats couldn't stomach her campaign. She didn't even make it to the primaries. And it wasn't because America wasn't ready, it was because no one bought what she was selling. Despite having donors, media hype, and establishment backing, she fizzled out like a damp firecracker. That wasn't bad luck. That was proof. Proof that Kamala Harris isn't a leader with vision, she's just a brand with no product.
And she was saying she wants government oversight and regulation for social media. That's crazy.
It's crazy for anyone to want it, because if the only reason you want it, right, is because you agree with the ideological bent of the platform, wait until someone else is in charge of it, or wait until there's a different government in charge.
It's also saying that the very thing that Mark Zuckerberg regrets should be happening. Like, she's essentially saying, why should they have different rules for Facebook than they do for Twitter? Like, what rules? Like,
what rules?
We don't have rules. We have First Amendment rights of free speech.
She's the political equivalent of an overhyped gadget flashy in ads, useless in real life. Her image isn't built on substance, but on PR spin and media hype designed to make her seem bigger than she is. And Rogan's roast doesn't just target Harris, it targets the system that propped her up. The politics of identity, the obsession with optics, and the routine rewarding of mediocrity if it fits the right narrative. Harris is what happens when style replaces substance. When politicians act like performers and voters are treated like an audience. Rogan makes it clear he's not just mocking her awkward speeches or nervous laughs, he's mocking what she represents. The emptiness of modern politics. The triumph of branding over reality. Kamala Harris wanted to be a symbol of progress. Instead, she became the poster child for mediocrity. And Rogan makes sure no one forgets it. To him, Harris isn't just out of her depth, she's proof of a system that rewards hollowness. She wasn't chosen for her vision or achievements. She was chosen because she looked safe. A marketable symbol, not a leader.
There's no way that lady's a heartbeat away from the president.
We have seen what can be unburdened by what has been.
There's no way. There's no way someone is not telling her to stop saying that same thing over and over again.
To see what can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been? Like, she just says it over and over and over again.
To see what can be unburdened by what has been.
This isn't real. This is writing. Someone wrote this. It seems like a script.
The ability to see what can be unburdened by what
are impossible to ignore. Harris's approval ratings have plunged lower than almost any vice president in recent memory. Even within her own party, support is weak at best, non-existent at worst. Yet she carries herself like a future president, as if holding the VP title automatically guarantees the next promotion. Rogan seizes on that delusion, highlighting the absurdity of a politician with so few accomplishments imagining herself in the Oval Office. The dysfunction doesn't end with her public image. Harris has one of the highest staff turnover rates in Washington. Working for her, insiders say, feels less like teamwork and more like being trapped in a revolving door of chaos. Stories of poor communication, constant blame, and finger-pointing follow her everywhere. Rogan doesn't ignore it. He paints Harris not just as ineffective on the national stage, but as a leader who can't even keep her own team.
Among Democrats, like 10 seconds ago, like literally, like a day ago.
Yep.
And now it's like the country's rallying around.
I know.
Like, what? I don't know. I don't even.
Yeah, we're so easily manipulated, and they're all doing it in lockstep. Yeah, no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. She was, she polled as the least popular vice president of all time.
Yeah.
She is, I had dinner with a friend of mine recently who actually knows her. He says she's very smart.
Between Harris's ambition and her results, she wants power but lacks the skill to wield it. She has the resume but not the outcomes. Rogan likens her to a fighter who looks tough on paper but folds in the ring. The hype doesn't match reality. And eventually, people notice. By the end of the roast, Harris emerges not as a symbol of progress, but as a warning about how shallow politics has become. She aimed to represent the future, but instead exposes the cracks in the present. She hoped to be remembered as a pioneer, yet risks being remembered as a footnote, a cautionary tale. In political theater, Rogan's message is unmistakable. Kamala Harris is not the leader America needs or deserves. She's a politician whose biggest achievement is convincing people to clap politely while she says nothing. She embodies a party that confuses branding with leadership. Selling style over substance and is still wondering why the public isn't buying